She walked into the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center on Thursday morning, past a line of news cameras, and sat down for more than 6 hours of questioning under congressional subpoena. Hillary Clinton, former Secretary of State, former United States Senator, former First Lady, former presidential candidate, became on Thursday the latest witness to sit before the House Oversight Committee's investigation into the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein. And within the first hour, before she had answered a single substantive question, the hearing descended into a controversy that Clinton herself said told you everything you need to know about what Republicans are actually trying to accomplish. Here is what happened. Shortly after the closed-door deposition began at the Chappaqua Performing Arts Center, someone inside the room took a photograph of the proceedings and shared it outside. The deposition was immediately paused. Clinton halted her testimony. Within minutes, the photo had appeared on social media. It was posted by Benny Johnson, a conservative influencer who wrote on X. Representative Boebert gave me permission to post the photo with credit. Republican Representative Lauren Boebert of Colorado had taken a photograph inside a closed, transcribed congressional deposition and sent it to an outside partisan commentator in apparent direct violation of the committee's own rules. Clinton, upon learning what had happened, repeated the request she had been making for months. Invite the press in, make this public, let the American people see everything. Committee Chairman James Comer of Kentucky said no. That sequence of events, Republican member violates committee rules, Clinton asks for transparency, Republican chairman refuses, became the frame through which Democrats interpreted the entire day. And they said so clearly, on the record, at a press conference outside the building as Clinton's testimony was still ongoing inside. Representative Robert Garcia of California, the ranking Democrat on the House Oversight Committee, told reporters that Clinton was answering every question fully in good faith without invoking the Fifth Amendment. He confirmed she was not taking the Fifth on anything. He called out his Republican colleagues directly. It's just so interesting that Republicans were so obsessed with being there today, not making it public, yet not a single Republican, not a single one, would join us last week at the deposition of Les Wexner, who was the largest financier, the person that provided Jeffrey Epstein with money. Wexner's deposition, which took place the week before, was attended exclusively by Democratic members. Not one Republican showed up. Garcia also announced what Democrats are calling a new precedent. This committee has now set a new precedent about talking to presidents and former presidents, he said. And we're demanding immediately that we ask President Trump to testify in front of our committee and be deposed in front of oversight Republicans and Democrats. And that should happen immediately. He is the person that appears almost more times in the files than anyone else, next to Ghislaine Maxwell, and it needs to happen right now. Comer responded by saying Trump has answered, in his words, hundreds, if not thousands, of questions from reporters about Epstein, and that he did not see the need to subpoena a sitting president. Garcia said that answer was not acceptable. He also demanded that the full, unedited transcript of Clinton's deposition be released within 24 hours. Comer said he would try to release video within 24 hours and that the transcript would be published once Clinton's attorneys approved it, the standard procedure for a transcribed deposition. Representative Suhas Subramanian of Virginia told reporters outside the building that the committee was, in his words, talking to the wrong person. He said Clinton had never met Epstein, a fact confirmed, he noted, by the Epstein files themselves. He called on the committee to instead subpoena Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, who has admitted to having lunch at Epstein's Island and whose name appears in the Epstein files. Comer said he was open to hearing from Lutnick, but did not commit to a subpoena. Congresswoman Yasmin Ansari of Arizona was direct. Today, we are sitting through an incredibly unserious clown show of a deposition where members of Congress and the Republican Party are more concerned about getting their photo off of Secretary Clinton than actually getting to the truth. Congressman Wesley Bell of Missouri, a former prosecutor, said, "We have not learned one new thing. What we're seeing is political theater, folks looking for headlines and tweets rather than justice for survivors. Now, for all the theatrics surrounding the day, Clinton's own testimony and her public statements outside the building deserve to be taken seriously on their own terms. In her opening statement, which she posted publicly on X and read into the record, she said, "I had no idea about their criminal activities. I do not recall ever encountering Mr. Epstein. I never flew on his plane or visited his island, homes, or offices. I have nothing to add to that." She said that, like every decent person, she has been horrified by what she has learned about Epstein's crimes. She said it is unfathomable that Epstein got what she called a slap on the wrist in 2008, which allowed him to continue for another decade. Clinton's opening statement also contained a charge directed squarely at this investigation. She told the committee, "You have compelled me to testify, fully aware that I have no knowledge that would assist your investigation in order to distract attention from President Trump's actions and cover them up, despite legitimate calls for answers." She said the institutional failure of the investigation, as she framed it, is designed to protect one political party and one public official rather than to seek truth and justice for the victims and survivors. She explicitly referenced the fact that 8 former law enforcement officials were subpoenaed. Only one appeared. The other 5 former attorneys general submitted brief statements saying they had no information. The committee has held 0 public hearings, and not a single Republican attended Les Wexner's deposition the week before. She also addressed a domestic policy matter that she said is directly connected to the Epstein story. She said the Trump administration has gutted the State Department's office to monitor and combat trafficking in persons, cutting more than 70% of the career civil and foreign service experts who work to prevent sex trafficking crimes. She said the annual trafficking in persons report, required by federal law, was delayed for months. And she said the message from the current administration to the world cannot be clearer. Combating human trafficking is no longer an American priority. She called it a tragedy and a scandal that itself deserves investigation and oversight. After 6+ hours of testimony, Clinton emerged from the Performing Arts Center and spoke to reporters. She said the deposition was, in her word, repetitive. She said she told the committee over and over that she did not know Jeffrey Epstein. She said she knew Ghislaine Maxwell only casually, as an acquaintance. She said that toward the end of the hearing, the questions became, in her description, quite unusual. She said she was asked about UFOs and about the Pizzagate conspiracy theory, which she called one of the most vile, bogus conspiracy theories that was propagated on the internet. She said a Republican member used that false conspiracy theory as the basis of actual questions to her under oath in a congressional deposition. Comer said of the overall session, "I think we learned a lot." He did not specify what. Clinton said she would not appear before the committee again, not in a closed session, not in a public one. "They had a chance to do it in public, and I wish they had done it in public," she said. "I'm not going to do it again." She confirmed she expected her husband, former President Bill Clinton, to sit for his own deposition on Friday, the first time in American history that a former president has been compelled to testify before a congressional committee. She said she was confident he knew nothing about Epstein's criminal history and that his relationship with Epstein ended several years before anything became known publicly. The background to all of this is critical for understanding the politics of Thursday's events. The House Oversight Committee voted on a bipartisan basis last August to subpoena both Clintons. They resisted for months, offering sworn written statements rather than in-person testimony. The committee scheduled depositions in October, then December, then January. The Clintons did not appear. On January 21, 2026, the committee voted on a bipartisan basis to recommend holding both Clintons in contempt of Congress. The Clintons agreed to testify at the last possible moment, hours before a full House vote that appeared to have the bipartisan support needed to pass. They agreed on Comer's terms, closed-door depositions, not the public hearing they had requested. Comer called it a complete cave. Democrats said agreeing to testify transparently in any forum was exactly what they had always wanted to do. CNN reported that some Trump loyalists are quietly alarmed by the precedent the deposition set, noting that a future Congress controlled by Democrats could more easily use the same mechanism to compel Trump or his family members to appear. Trump himself, asked about the Clinton depositions earlier this month, expressed what PBS described as regret that they were being forced to happen, a notably restrained response from a president who has spent years calling for Clinton's prosecution. Friday, Bill Clinton sits down. His relationship with Epstein is documented. His name and photographs appear in the Epstein files. He has not been accused of criminal wrongdoing. What he says under oath, and whether any of it opens new lines of inquiry, will be the next chapter in an investigation that, whatever you think of its politics, is not going away. Stay with us.